She was mopping the lobby floor until the CEO heard her speak 3 languages like a native. Most people didn't notice the cleaning crew at Sterling Global. They were part of the building's rhythm, moving silently after hours, emptying trash cans and wiping down tables, blending into the background. It was Monday morning in the bustling city of Mesa Ridge, and the company's main lobby was alive with the sound of clicking heels, ringing phones, and people clutching coffee cups like lifelines. Marcus Vance, the company's CEO, was walking from the parking garage to his executive suite when he heard it. It was a voice, but not just any voice. It was speaking fluent, sharp Mandarin, a language he hadn't heard with such clarity since his last trip to the Beijing office. The sound stopped him in his tracks. He glanced around, expecting to see an international sales representative, but then he saw her. A woman in a simple cleaning uniform, her hair pulled back neatly, stood near the lobby directory. She was in the middle of a conversation with an older man who looked both confused and incredibly relieved. She gestured calmly, her voice warm and firm, directing him toward the elevators with perfect instructions. Marcus narrowed his eyes. He'd seen her before, passing through the halls after late meetings. She was always polite, always quiet, never making eye contact unless spoken to. He didn't even know her name. But here she was, effortlessly translating and explaining building logistics in a language that most people couldn't even pronounce. He took a slow step forward, his curiosity piqued. As he got closer, she finished the conversation in Mandarin and turned to a delivery driver holding a clipboard. And in a smooth, fluid motion, she switched to perfect Spanish to answer his question. The driver blinked, then smiled. Sí, gracias. Then, just as casually, she turned to a vendor who was looking at a set of mislabeled boxes. In flawless French, she pointed and explained which conference room they belonged to. Marcus felt a knot tighten in his chest, not of anger, but of guilt. He had worked in global logistics for over 2 decades, led international expansions, and hired countless translators. Yet here, in his own building, the most linguistically gifted person he'd encountered in months had been scrubbing toilets just 2 floors below his office. He stepped forward. "Excuse me?" She turned toward him, startled but composed. "Yes, sir." He offered a faint smile. "That was Mandarin, right?" "Yes, sir." "You speak it fluently?" "Yes." "And Spanish? French?" She nodded. "Also Portuguese, German, Arabic, Italian, Swahili, and I read Latin, but I don't really count that." He blinked, trying to process what he had just heard. "You're telling me you speak 9 languages?" "Yes, sir." There was no pride in her tone, just a simple statement of fact. He stared at her for a moment, his mind racing to catch up. A janitor in his building, a woman who mopped floors in silence every night, was a walking United Nations. "What's your name?" he asked finally. "Elena Cortez." "Ms. Cortez, are you free for a few minutes?" Her brow raised slightly. "Now?" "Yes, I'd like to talk to you in my office." He noticed her hesitation. It wasn't fear, but the built-in reflex of someone used to being overlooked. She slowly nodded. He pressed the elevator button, holding the door for her. As they rose toward the executive floor, the silence was heavy. "I've worked here for 13 years, she said suddenly. "Never thought I'd be invited up." He gave a small, quiet smile. "You might be surprised how quickly things can change." But even he had no idea just how much was about to shift. Not just for her, but for him and the entire company. The elevator dinged, and Elena stepped out onto the polished wood floor of the executive hallway. It smelled of citrus and leather, the scent of money. Marcus's assistant looked up, wide-eyed, at the sight of Elena beside him. He simply nodded for her to let them through. Once inside his glass-walled office, he gestured to a chair. "Please, sit." She sat carefully, her eyes taking in the room. A large world map hung behind his desk, dotted with colored pins. She wasn't impressed, just observant. Marcus leaned forward. "So, Elena, I'm going to be honest. I didn't expect to have this conversation today. But I just heard you speak 3 languages like you were flipping light switches. I need to understand, how does someone like you end up working here, cleaning floors?" For a moment, she didn't answer. Her eyes flicked toward the window, then back to him. "You got time for the truth?" "I wouldn't have asked otherwise," she sighed. "All right, then. I was born in Flint, Michigan. My parents worked hard, pushed education like it was religion. I got a full ride to college, majored in linguistics, and was halfway through a master's program when my mother got sick. She paused, the memory still sharp. I came home to take care of her. Then my dad passed away 6 months later. Everything fell apart. I had a baby, no money, and no partner who stuck around. So I worked whatever jobs I could find, grocery stores, nursing homes, temp jobs. Eventually, a supervisor here offered me night hours. It let me pick up my daughter from school and pay the bills. That's how I got here. Marcus listened without blinking. But I didn't stop learning, she continued. I borrowed textbooks, listened to recordings, read newspapers in 5 different languages, just to stay sharp. It's what I do. It's the only thing that makes me feel like I still matter. Her voice was steady, not asking for pity. Most people never asked, she added. They saw the uniform and assumed. That last word hung in the air. Assumed. Marcus sat back, the weight of her story settling in his chest. Elena Cortez was brilliant. That much was obvious. You ever think about doing anything else? He asked. She gave a small shrug. Sometimes, but it's hard to dream when your rent's due. How many other brilliant people were out there, doing jobs far below their potential, just because life had dealt them a tough hand? Silence fell between them, thick with unspoken understanding. Marcus reached for his notebook and jotted down a few lines. A new idea was already forming in his head, and it wasn't a small one. The conversation stayed with him all day. Around 3:45 p.m., he rode the elevator down to the building's service level. The walls were scuffed from carts, the air warm. He found Elena in the supply room, restocking cloths on a shelf. Mind if I bother you again? He asked. She turned, startled. You came down here? I have a favor to ask, he said. There's a meeting upstairs. A group from our Rio de Janeiro office arrived early, and our translator just canceled. Can you help? She hesitated for only a second. Portuguese? Yes, I can do that. Minutes later, they were in a conference room with 4 Brazilian executives. Elena stepped in, nodded, and began speaking in smooth, confident Portuguese. Marcus watched as the entire room shifted. Shoulders relaxed, eye contact sharpened. She wasn't just translating, she was building a bridge. When one of the visitors cracked a joke, Elena laughed and responded with one of her own, and soon the whole room was chuckling. After the meeting, one of the executives turned to Marcus. She's better than anyone we've worked with this year, he said in English. Where did you find her? Marcus looked at Elena, who was already stacking empty cups on a tray. Right here, he said. Later, as Elena clocked back in to clean her last 2 floors, she said something that stuck with him. I didn't do anything special today. That's not how it looked to me, he replied. She just gave a small smile and walked away. That night, Marcus sat in his car for a long time. The company was always talking about diversity and untapped talent. They were always looking outside, recruiting globally. But what if the greatest talent was already inside, just hidden in plain sight? The next morning, Elena's supervisor, Frank, tapped her on the shoulder. Mr. Vance asked to see you again. She followed the now familiar path to the executive suite. This time, however, people in the hallways looked up. Some whispered. A receptionist even gave her a polite smile. Marcus was standing by the window. Come in, he said. I've been thinking about talent and about waste. How many people never get a shot because nobody looks twice? Denise said nothing. She'd learned not to trust easy praise. I want to create a new position, he continued. One this company badly needs, even if we didn't know it. Cultural liaison for international affairs. Someone who can speak the languages, read between the lines, and handle all the global touchpoints we're constantly fumbling. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. You're qualified, Elena. Probably more than most people in our leadership team. You've already proved you can handle it with grace and intelligence. Is this real? She whispered.
As real as it gets. I don't have a college degree. You have something better. Lived experience, commitment, and fluency in 9 languages. You think I care about a piece of paper? She shifted her weight, still unsure. Why me? He looked directly at her. Because I watched you solve 3 problems in 3 languages before 9 o'clock a.m. yesterday. And because I'm tired of walking past people like you. People doing twice the work for half the credit. You know what people are going to say, she said, crossing her arms. I don't care. A long pause stretched between them. Then, Elena let out a slow breath. All right then, she said, her voice firm. Let's see what I can do. He extended his hand, and she shook it. And it wasn't just a handshake. It was history being rewritten. By Wednesday, the news had traveled faster than the elevators. Elena Cortez, the janitor, had been promoted to an executive-level position. The gossip bounced from cubicle to conference room. Some people were happy for her, but not everyone was clapping. In the staff lounge, 2 assistants whispered over their salads. I'm just saying, I have a master's degree, and I've been waiting 2 years for a promotion. This lady was cleaning bathrooms last week. Elena felt the resentment the moment she stepped into her new, modest office. Later that day, she met with Richard, the head of international operations. He walked in with a tight-lipped expression, didn't shake her hand, and didn't sit down. So, you're the new liaison, he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm.
That's what I'm told, Elena replied calmly. I've got reports from Italy, contracts from Dubai, and a vendor issue in Rio. Think you can manage that? He dropped a thick folder on her desk and walked out without another word. That night, Marcus stopped by her office. How's day 1? I've had worse, she exhaled. Richard give you a hard time? He doesn't scare me. I figured. He leaned against the doorframe. You have a real story, Elena. And now, you've got a platform. As the door clicked shut, Elena looked around her new office. She remembered the years she'd cried in bathroom stalls, the nights she came home with aching feet, the promotions she watched go to people who never even said good morning. She opened a drawer and placed her old janitor badge inside, not to forget, but to remember exactly what it took to get here. By the end of the week, a company-wide email from Marcus made it official. He framed her promotion not as a feel-good story, but as a strategic hire. Still, the grumbling continued until people saw her in action. She corrected mistranslated contracts that had cost the company money for years. She smoothed over conversations with foreign clients better than any software. She never showed off. She just worked. On Monday, she joined a meeting with a delegation from Morocco. The company's expansion there had been stuck for months. Elena walked in, sat down, and introduced herself in fluent Moroccan Arabic. The entire room changed. You could feel the shift. When someone speaks your language, you don't just hear words, you hear respect. By midweek, Marcus made another move. He quietly renamed the main company training room. The plaque outside now read, "The Cortez Room." Later that afternoon, a sealed envelope appeared on Elena's desk. Inside was a handwritten note. I used to think I'd be invisible forever, but today I stood a little taller because of you. Thank you. No signature, just proof that people were watching. In the following weeks, something strange happened. People started coming to her not just for translation, but for advice. She became a mentor, helping interns with presentations and new hires with their confidence. One afternoon, Marcus joined her for coffee. I've been thinking about starting a training program for our internal talent, he said. There are probably more Elenas in this building. She nodded. There are. They just haven't been seen yet. Want to help me build it? He asked. She smiled. Already started in my head. The pilot program, which she named Voice Inside, launched a month later. It gave workers across all departments, from maintenance to the mailroom, access to language training, leadership mentoring, and a chance to be seen. It was her idea, and it caught fire. Never assume you know someone's worth based on their job title. Talent has no dress code, and brilliance can walk right past you wearing a name tag and holding a mop. If you've ever been overlooked, keep going. The right person will see you, and when they do, don't be afraid to take your seat at the table.